Quite an introduction there. But let us talk. The cloud, it isn't magic. It's not always better or even available for the thing you want it to do. It's not a mysterious or a cure-all, and it does take a bit of effort to systemize your approach and make consistent, defensible decisions about your cloud services. That's where Symptai comes in. Their cloud vision is a culmination of this effort, all boiled down into a single statement. This is how we want to use the cloud. That simple statement should, of course, be representative of and built from a broader contextual strategy discussion that answers the following questions. What should go to the cloud? What kind of cloud makes sense? Should the cloud deployment be public, private, or hybrid? What does a migration look like? And what risks and roadblocks need to be considered when exploring your cloud migration options? And finally, what are the day two activities that you'll need to undertake after you have gotten the ball rolling? Right? Taken as a whole, answering these questions is a difficult task, but with the conversation started here today, it's as easy as, well, let's just say it gets easier. Want to put everybody on the same playing ground. I know some persons maybe here from a very technical background, etc., but we want to also make everybody on the same level playing field as we walk through our webinar today. And so I just want to start out with a quick definition, getting everybody up to speed. So cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT resources via the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing instead of buying, owning, and maintaining physical data centers and servers. Those that you can walk into a network room and touch a switch, your router, your firewall, etc. You can access technology services such as computing, power, storage, and databases on an as-needed basis from a cloud provider such as Microsoft, you have Azure, you have Google Cloud Platform as well, right? And you have Amazon Web Services. Some of you may know some of these already. Organizations of every type, size, and industry are using the cloud for a wide variety of use cases such as data backup, disaster recovery, email. A lot of persons know Office 365, virtual desktops, software development and testing, big data analytics, and customer-facing web applications that you have developed in-house. For example, financial services companies are using the cloud to power real-time fraud detection and prevention. Even video game makers are using the cloud to deliver online games to millions of people around the world. With cloud computing, your business can become more agile. And one big ticket item that everybody's looking for in this time, especially, is reducing costs, instantly scaling and deploy within minutes globally. Cloud computing gives you instant access to a broad range of technologies. They're always advancing. They are always trying to keep ahead of the curve. And when you have that level of competition, for example, among the big three out there, the Google, the Amazon, the Microsoft, they're always innovating to keep the technologies up to speed. Right? So you can pretty much build anything you can imagine, from infrastructure services such as compute, storage, and databases to Internet of Things, machine learning, and much more. You can deploy these services in a matter of minutes and get from idea to implementation several orders of magnitude faster than before. This gives you freedom to even experiment and test new ideas. You may not want that commitment. You want to try out something. You can quickly spin up an environment in the cloud, try out that idea, and if it works, it becomes a proof of concept to the stakeholders who need for buy-in, for further investments into advancing for that digital transformation. This gives you the freedom to then differentiate your customer experience and transform your business, such as adding machine learning and intelligence to your applications and personalizing that experience for your customer to improve their engagement. And again, you don't need to make large upfront investments in hardware, overpay for capacity that you don't need and you can't shrink. You'd have to find some way of selling back those items. So you're able to now more scale and become global within minutes. Challenge, what's your challenge? You're both extrinsically motivated to move to the cloud by vendors. You're seeing ads everywhere. You're seeing the benefits. Every other article is on the cloud and every other vendor is saying, this is how it benefits you. And then intrinsically motivated by internal digital transformation initiatives. You want to enhance your organization. You want to keep up to speed. All organizations, COVID-19 has sped up a bit of this initiative. A lot of persons now recognizing that we need to be with the technology, with the digital age. You need to define your cloud's true value proposition for your organization without assuming it's an outsourcing opportunity or will save you money. All right, so that's another challenge. You want to see what the value is, what the vision is, how will this help the organization in the long run. And then your industry, once cloud averse, we know that some, for example, financial institutions may be a bit hesitant, or healthcare organizations that may be affected by the entire GDPR scope, data privacy, where do they store the information, etc. So if your industry is cloud averse, it's now normalizing the use of cloud services, but you have not established a basic cloud vision from which to develop a strategy at a later point. These are some challenges. You have not gone into these spaces. You have not identified you're maybe motivated intrinsically for that transformation. You have not developed your vision. Some obstacles in the way. Organizations jump to the cloud before defining their cloud vision without any clear plan for realizing the cloud's benefit. And as such, you may be leaving money on the table. Many organizations have a foot in the cloud already, and you may not even recognize or count it as you're in the cloud. Again, I'll bring up another sample from that, and that would be Microsoft 365. You are using the email, but you're just thinking of it as, oh, it's just an application we use in Microsoft, but really and truly you're using a software as a service solution from Microsoft, which is a cloud solution. Many are going to, you lack a consistent framework to assess your workload suitability for the cloud. If you have not assessed your workload and how it fits into the cloud, when you migrate, you may be meeting up on challenges. You may be recognizing that it's just not a fit for you. And really and truly, cloud may just not be the fit for you currently, right? So you don't want to migrate and then meet up on those obstacles. Symptai's approach in helping you. You want to evaluate the workload suitability for the cloud using methodology to select the optimal migration or non-migration. Again, you may not want to move there. And the path based on the value of the cloud characteristics. And you want to identify the risks tied to workloads, cloud suitability and mitigations. Because you want to get an idea of your risk posture in the environment, what it is that you can do, your RPO, your RTO. How much data can I lose if there's any issues? How long before I get my operations back up, etc. And then we want to build a roadmap of initiatives for actions by workload and risk mitigation. And then finally, define your cloud vision to share with your stakeholders. Because once you have buy-in, not just from within the business, but also your customers. Because once they see realizable benefits on their end, whether it be that they see trickle down cost reduction into whatever services they're purchasing, or just overall a better experience. So at this point in time, we want to talk about some considerations before moving to the cloud. 30% of cloud spend, all cloud spend, is self-reported as waste. Not sounding too good. However, many workloads that end up in the cloud don't belong there. Many workloads that do belong in the cloud aren't properly migrated. That's coming back from before, where you have not set out your vision, you have not assessed what should be in the cloud, what shouldn't be in the cloud, what fits for it. And then 44% of respondents report themselves as underskilled in the cloud management space. In Jamaica, and I can attest to this, a lot of organizations have the challenge where you may not have the ability to say, I want somebody who is cloud security, cloud networking, on-premise networking, on-premise security, red teaming, blue teaming security, having somebody for specialized areas. And as a result of that, you may have an underskilled workforce that cannot be able to have the time to focus directly on helping you migrate to the cloud effectively. And so therefore, when you have done that, they view it as they're underskilled cloud management space, and that can be one of the hindrances for moving forward. That's where Symptai as a company helps you in that preparation, movement, and even the post-migration for optimization. So at this point in time, what we're talking about now is what have you identified, or what can you identify to say, you may need to move to the cloud at this point in time. Right. First thing is going to be addressing the hardware obsolescence cycle. Networking, storage, and computer hardware typically has a 3 to 5 year lifespan. After that time, the hardware becomes increasingly expensive to maintain. When new hardware is ordered and software migrated, the cycle starts again. You want to break away from that cycle where you don't have to be worrying about having to replace that Cisco switch a couple of years down the line, or that server is no longer keeping up. You need to move with better RAM technologies, better CPU for processing. You have that concern within your organization. That's where the cloud can come in for you. Moving away from the pre-purchase model for capacity, you are seeing that you're going to be expanding soon. You say, okay, we recognize that we're going to be moving to a new market. We're going to have increased flow, increased traffic. We're going to need to beef up our infrastructure. Now you're pre-purchasing, and say, for example, you did this before COVID and recognized that at that point in time, you would have already bought this. This is an expense, depreciation, it's there. You can't be using it because that growth that you projected never happened at that point in time. It will eventually happen. You'll break out of a pandemic like this now, and then growth will be exponential. During that time, you've already pre-purchased. The hardware is sitting there. You can't do much with it. With the cloud, then it is that you could have scaled back, shrink that, and then reduce your cost in there, right? Lack of IT agility. Our IT organizations are looking to the cloud for automation, for its opportunities for the infrastructure, and are finding solution to the madness. Cloud management services allow for predictability and adaptability, giving that agility, both valuable properties of infrastructure agility. Cloud computing shoulders some of the burdens for IT professionals in offering that scalability and adjustability while being cost effective. In doing so, cloud services have the capability to fight planned obsolescence, right? Advanced security, speed, and agility. Right now, you may be challenged, again, resources. You may be needing to buy a new server, and you may require a firewall upgrade. You may have a firewall that is at point now, end of sale, end of life. You're not having support from the vendor anymore. You need to make that upgrade, and you need to make it right now. You have those challenges: security, the speed, the agility within your organization. Those are some challenges as you're considering. Maybe it is time for you to move to the cloud. Expense of maintaining a global presence. You're looking to open a new office in another island, another country. And you're having now to think about, how am I going to be setting up my environment here, my infrastructure that's needed? I need a server there, I need a switch, I need a router, I need a firewall. All of these items are immediate investments. They're a challenge, they're costly, right? And cloud, again, is a solution for you where it's a purchase model as you go. If it is that you need this particular technology now or this solution, you purchase and you move forward with that. Enabling disaster recovery scenarios. Your RPOs, your recovery point objectives, tell you how much data loss you can sustain from last known backup, or your RTO tells you how long you can stay without operation. The cloud gives you haven't right now, even before talking about the cloud, right now you have a challenge that you only have one location, you have no failover site. How are you going to make this disaster recovery scenario? You can shut down operations of your main site and move to a backup or a disaster recovery site. There is none in existence. With the cloud, you'd be able to now move in, be able to set up for disaster recovery, have your backups, workloads being stored elsewhere, being able to take on higher traffic. And then finally, converting from a capital expenditure with depreciation to an expense budget, right? Your capital expenditure and your depreciation, those are not good terms. I mean, expense doesn't sound any better, but your expenditure, your capital expenditure and depreciation, it's an upfront cost. And you have this now, you own this. This is on your books constantly. You're losing value of this. It's likely that you'll be able to offload it, as opposed to scaling whatever you want. Maybe your expense is $10 this month. Maybe you recognize that, oh, we need to move to $20 next month, but You can reduce back to $10 if you optimize, if you don't need that level of technology, that level of infrastructure. That gives you the freedom, the agility, and being able to use an expense budget instead of capital expenditure and depreciation. So I want to help you. Your cloud migration to-do checklist. And you can take notes here. You want to establish individual and team responsibilities. You want to, who is doing what, right? Who is going to be your project sponsor, your technical resource, who is going to be doing the sensitization sessions, who's responsible if there's anything that goes wrong. Everybody knows their roles. So, and responsibilities. So during that time, it makes it easier for you in your migration process. Choose your level of cloud integration. When you move an application from an on-premise data center to the cloud, there are two ways you can migrate your application. Shallow cloud integration or a deep cloud. Shallow speaks more to lift and shift, where as is, you move it to the cloud. It's the same thing. You're just not seeing it on your physical server that you can walk around and go into your core network room, right? But you still have a virtual machine. It's the same setup. Everything is pretty much the same, lift and shift, right? And then you have the deep integration. With that now, you are able to optimize, right? And you're looking how you want to take advantage of key cloud capabilities. Maybe you need to rewrite your applications. Maybe you're no longer running that as you're running it now on a server. You want to run it on a container. Being able to have that auto scaling, dynamic load balancing, or just the serverless computing capabilities, right? And those are some of the items you want to have, and this is a part of your checklist. Choose your cloud integration. Choose a single cloud or multi-cloud approach. Maybe one cloud may be best for you. Maybe you're thinking that I can run ahead with Azure. Maybe Amazon have a few services in there, few technologies that Azure may not have. And so you are seeing that this is a better fit for your organization. So you can use a multi-cloud approach, and there are benefits to that. You're able to then have built-in redundancy. You're able to take use of various technologies, and also for cost purposes. Maybe one solution is more cost-effective on that particular cloud as opposed to the other cloud. So choose your cloud, single cloud or multi-cloud approach. Again, documentation is important throughout all of these processes. Establish your KPIs. Your KPIs are metrics that gather about your application or service to measure how it is performing against your expectations. You may already have some defined KPIs for your applications and services, but they're still right ones for an application once it's in the cloud. Does it fit? Make sure that you have your KPIs set out. For example, you have user experience, page load time, lag, response time. Set what your performance metric, what you're looking for, what is acceptable to you, and then measure against to ensure that when you move over, you're actually getting value for your money in your migration. Infrastructure could be CPU usage percentage, disk performance, memory usage, network throughput, and just overall business engagement, conversion rate. How much is your engagement rate with your audience? All right. Then we move on. We have organized those migration components. Decide what you'll be migrating. If you migrate the entire application, the services you'll migrate, what are going to be moving over. Are you going from outer to inner services? That meaning outer, what the customer is seeing right now, or some inner services what the customer may not be seeing right now. Decide on what components you're moving along. And then finally, create a data migration plan and switch over for production. Data migration is one of the trickiest parts of cloud migration. The location of your data can significantly affect your performance application. Moving your data to the cloud when the data access methods are still primarily on-premise can significantly impact performance. The same holds true if your data is still on-premises, but a service accessing it resides in the cloud. How is it that you are making that interaction? Are you having a VPN connection? Is the service provider able to keep up to speed with the communication and expected throughput? So you have two options for data migration using a bidirectional syncing approach, where you sync once you move all consumers of data to the cloud, you remove your on-premise data, and then you have a one-way synchronization to a cloud-based database and allow consumers to connect only to the on-premise version. When you're ready, you disable that access to the on-premise, and then they are now moved over to the cloud. So select your data migration plan and how you'll operate for switching over to production. Now the cloud strategy, we'll go through this quickly to see what is a fit for you. Cloud characteristics, the on-demand self-service, broad network access, resource pooling, rapid elasticity, and measured service. Again, a lot of this is just names that is repeating. Speed, agility, speaking about your elasticity, the ability to expand and retract capabilities as needed. Resource pooling, multiple tenant, again, this is a multi-cloud approach. Broad network access, all services delivered over the network. So you have moved everything up to the network now in the cloud. And you have a demand and service. You have what you want, you can access it whenever you want. The three primary models, as mentioned before, the software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. SaaS, you have heard of mentioned before, Office 365. You have that, you can work with that. Everything is managed by the cloud provider. Platform as a service, they provide up to a point for you. You manage the platform itself, the tools provided by the vendor. You can build your application, put on there, and then you can make your management from there. Infrastructure as a service, now you are able to install if you have an OS that you want to use, which can also reduce costs. If you have already purchased your Windows licenses, you can integrate that with the cloud virtual machines as well, and that will reduce your costs. And then you have the delivery models, the public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and the community cloud. Public cloud isn't bad, right? Don't think of this that everybody has access to your information. It's just meaning that this is a cloud that other people are able to utilize as a benefit to their organization. Just like how it is that you're using the SaaS application of Office 365, a lot of other persons are using Office 365, but your information and tenancy is separate from other vendors, other users, other organizations within the space. And the private cloud, this may be something that is delivered by your organization. You have developed your own data center that you have now migrated to offering the capabilities of cloud delivery. Hybrid cloud using 2 or more connected clouds, and then community cloud provision for specific of organizations. So you may have a group of companies. And a workload first approach, again, will give you the Symptai approach, will allow you to take full advantage of cloud strengths. Under all but the most exceptional circumstances, cloud strategies will incorporate different service models. Very few organizations are a single one, whether it's an IaaS shop, SaaS shop, even if they're heavily in one direction. These service models, these different service models, including non-cloud options like co-location and on-premises infrastructure, each have their different strengths. So you want to choose what is best for your strategy and own the cloud by understanding which or non-cloud offering makes most sense for you. Again, we're not telling you you have to move to the cloud. However, if you have identified some challenges on-premise, it is an option for you. And these are some migration paths. The ones that you see in that blue box there is telling you that this is a cloud move. The retain, the relocate are no more focused on-premise. Retaining meaning you're retaining what you're doing, you're maintaining your operations on-premise. Relocate, you may be using a data center at the office location. Now you want to purchase some storage space, some networking infrastructure, and move it to a hosted networking solution data center locally, right? So it's just relocating. Rehosting now is move the cloud to the application, move the application to the cloud and continue running more or less pretty much the same as it is currently running. Again, the lift and shift. Replatform, move the application to the cloud and perform a few changes for optimization with the cloud. Refactor, rewrite the application, take advantage of cloud native architectures. You have Kubernetes within the Google engine, you have containers, etc. And then repurchase, replace with an alternative cloud native application and migrate the data. Maybe you have a customer resource management tool that you had initially built in-house. I know you're realizing Salesforce as an example, maybe what is going to be ideal for you. Then you can then purchase that cloud native application, migrate your data. What to move? Migrating your users, your applications, and your servers. These are those three big items that generally we identify as what are majority in that first initial push, or where most persons are currently. They're either migrating their users and groups, their applications, and their servers. Can be added to this, your databases, etc. Your users. Guaranteed right now, I ask the majority of persons another poll if they actually post one here. You're using as Microsoft Azure Active Directory on premise. If it is that you're using that, that is your user management solution. You can be able to migrate those users, have a sync in place, or just migrate them totally, where everything is now sitting in the cloud. All your management, you can easily access, you can get better visibility in your users and apply more policies and protection for those users, and then enable your single sign-on. It's easier when it is in the cloud. You're able to now integrate other applications that you have hosted, easier for authentication and easier for experience for the user, and increasing security at the end of the day. Migrate applications. Before we spoke about modernizing, where you refactor, rewrite your applications. Those are some things that you want to consider in moving when you're moving to the cloud. And then migrating servers, lifting and shifting. You're moving as is, same processing, same memory, same hard drive storage, all of it. Move exactly to the cloud and you continue operating as is, or you recreate. Maybe you have two VMs, you recognize that you can consolidate, run both applications on one VM, or whatever other services you have running on a VM, you can put it on one VM. So you'll be able to recreate and refactor that VM, saving you costs in it. And then what to expect when moving to the cloud? And these are some challenges that we have noticed when in that phase of moving to the cloud, preparing for business cultural changes. This isn't only to do with the technical persons, because there are some persons who, again, they may not be at the skill level. They may not be culturally ready for that cloud operation. They're used to operating on-premise. And so you want to prepare them for that. But also you want to prepare your customers if they're going to be experiencing changes from you moving to the cloud. How are they going to be accessing certain services? Are you going to see an impact on that? You want to be able to prepare that business cultural change, because you may be operating efficiently or digital transformation. This is a cultural change for them, right? And then you have scalability and security. Again, this has built-in automation. You can scale up, scale down, saving you money as you move along. And we have 6 items that we want to look at for key things for migration success. Look at the workload being migrated. Again, these are some things that are going to repeat from your checklist. Migration priorities and sequence. So you want to look at your workload, look at what is being consumed. Because right now you may have an idea that you're consuming a particular service, and when you really look at it, you can probably do away with that service, merge it somewhere, create a new application for it, refactor, whichever it is, but look at your workloads that are being migrated. So when you move to the cloud, you're moving there efficiently, and also look at it from a security perspective. Then migration priorities and sequence. A lot of people will take this for granted, but persons will possibly move certain services to the cloud before they have migrated the users to be able to do for authentication, or they may be doing things in reverse. So when they move a particular service up, they realize that, oh, this service is still sitting on premise. They now have to initiate a VPN connection, take some additional time for that administrative overhead to be able to have operations running smoothly. So have your migration priorities and sequence in place. Create a timetable. Sound very from primary schoolish. However, having that timetable in place will be able to tell you what you need to do, when you need to do it, when you may need to be able to escalate something if something is going on, all right? Whatever it is, but you have a timetable that you're able to track, and then you can also tie your KPIs into this. definition of processing and roles. We spoke about this earlier. Everybody should know what they're doing, where they're coming in, what their responsibility is. Not just when it's going bad, but when it's going good. You want to be able to have everybody running as a well-oiled machine. Everybody is pulling in the same direction. Performance metrics, your KPIs. You want to know, are my KPIs, am I meeting my KPIs? Am I operating as I was on premise and also exceeding that stage? This will tell you that you have done migration successfully. And then stakeholder communication. You want everybody, again, business heads within the business, middle management, lower management, other personnel throughout your organization, and your customers also to be aware of what your move is and what the impact will be to others. We have been speaking about cloud, and you may have noticed at the start of our slide, we're also partners with Microsoft. And Microsoft will help you. We are experts in the field, and we want to position them to also be able to give you an option. So at this point, just looking at how Microsoft can help you to be more productive from anywhere, secure business with technology you can trust, and get one cost-effective solution for secure collaboration. All right. So that speaks a bit about what we have been talking about all along, how it is that you can, before, the preparation, the during, the after post-migration, an important part of that step is optimization, because you want to make sure that you're optimized, you're running efficiently and effectively. That will be saving you from your budget perspective and also from a security perspective, because no one wants a breach at this point in time. That is costly. The repercussions from that, that if that blows up in the media, that's nothing that the publicity, type of publicity that any organization wants. So Microsoft will help you to enable your team to do their best work. Some persons here may be already familiar with some of these items. You have OneDrive, you have Teams, these are all productivity apps. And now a lot of news is coming out about AI. AI has existed before, but it's becoming more readily available. You have ChatGPT. Microsoft will be piloting some of their AI solutions that will be built in from parts of that AI technology within the operations of the Microsoft suite of tools and technologies, helping you to write documents, etc. So with that, Microsoft enables you to do your best work for your team. Integrated tools, helping you to do your best on any device. You can install these applications, you have time management, you're able to see your calendar across all devices. You have that sync, the ability to readily share files. You're traveling, you can access it from your mobile phone. You may have Windows, various vendors, Mac OS, Android, iOS, or just any general browser, and you get the same fluid, familiar experience across PC, mobile, web, and even meeting rooms, right? And this is all about the productivity side of it. And then collaboration here, where, right, you want to be able to collaborate within your teams. You have your meetings, your files is readily accessible in one space. You have stay in the know across company leadership communications and engagement. Secondly, secure your business with technology you can trust. We spoke about earlier what it is that moving your users across for single sign-on, authentication for applications, making it an easier experience for users. You have now visibility and policies that you have that you can apply. You get a single pane of glass. You'll have the advisors that will be able to tell you that you have risky signing members. You get a lot more visibility into what's happening in your environment and be able to proactively block threats, protect your data, have confidentiality labels being attached to these data. So it is that it shouldn't leave the organization. Certain persons shouldn't be able to view it, and ensure only the right users have access. So today's challenges, a surge of cyber attacks. We've heard about the ransomware, the phishing attacks, all too familiar. Hoping no one here has had that unfortunate experience. Continuous security vulnerabilities that they're coming up, zero-day attacks. Persons are sitting down. This is their full-time job. They're trying to find the attack. They want to attack organizations. People are using personal devices at home to access certain applications, and you may not have the control over that, particularly because you may not have a certain type of MDM solution in place, which is mobile device management. Lack of skilled personnel, again, persons are not trained up in that particular area to be able to manage all of these complexities and that are evolving in the environment, the data privacy or industrial regulations. So with that, Microsoft affords you seamless, secure access, the Azure AD single sign-on. Such simple, still familiar face looking for how you manage your Azure Active Directory with quite a bit of additional features. You can implement multi-factor authentication, added layers of dynamic control, your conditional access policies, what persons may have access to or not have access to. And then you can integrate other biometric access. You may have your Windows PC with your fingerprint or voice recognition, facial recognition. And then you want to help prevent accidental data leaks. Microsoft security best practices automatically recommend and install certain baselines that are customizable, but at least at a minimum, you're getting these baselines once you apply these. Once you have anything integrated into your organization, you can configure that if somebody is supposed to install the email client on their phone, Outlook, they have to be approved by an administrator within your organization before any kind of data is communicated to that device. You have integrated data loss prevention policies, and then you have user-friendly content protection. Nobody wants to be configuring anything by command line and making it difficult. It's easy, it's in one space, single pane of glass for your visibility and view. And then finally, we're speaking about gain insights and take recommended actions before issues occur, because you want to always be staying ahead of the curve. With the visibility you're seeing on screen here, you're able to see the secure score, what it is that you may need to do. And this is an example of the advisor. You have an overview, improvement actions. For example, block execution of potentially obfuscated scripts. You may want to do that. You can take that action before. You may not have had this visibility while on-premise because your systems were not integrated. You didn't have that kind of visibility, so you're not able to see what is happening and take these proactive approaches. Understand your device's state, what is happening, what is at risk, what needs to be improved, your hardware issues that may be happening. You may have a laptop, it may not have been applying the Windows updates quite frequently enough. You may not have the ability to see this within your organization. So you can see this through the endpoint analytics service and evaluate your security approach. Everybody needs to improve their security posture. And with these recommendations and KPIs, you're able to benchmark yourself and then improve from there. And in closing out here today, we have the post-migration considerations. We spoke about a couple of them. Microsoft introduced a few of them to you, but you want to monitor and manage your hybrid cloud applications, or even just completely native cloud applications. Identify and address performance issues and cost optimization strategies. You want to gather the data on what is happening, measure against a KPI. What can you reduce? How can you consolidate? What can you utilize as a new technology, for example, that will be able to take over the processes of running the entire application? You may be able to migrate to something that is running more effectively, more efficiently, saving you on cost there. All right, so we have one question here. I'm seeing in terms of budget, can you stress why it is important to have the right type of budget and a capital-based budget? In terms of the budget, for capital budget, a lot of organizations, and it may not be applicable to your organization, but what I've noticed is that a lot of organizations have an upfront spend on their capital budget. They may never use this. It's not realizable spend for them because they have now spent this, bought a lot of bare metal equipment, and may not even have been able to have the integration of that bare metal equipment because, for example, they have not scoped correctly. They have not looked at the solution they're acquiring. It may not be applicable. It may not be compatible with the application that they're using, and they have now used this capital-based budget. You don't want to have that upfront spend. You want to have the flexibility in your budget to be able to look on your accounts and say, okay, I have the more flexibility now, having not spent $1 million upfront. I can now budget for a year, 2 years down the line, and still be able to identify how I can scale and reduce and possibly even save under that $1 million over that year or 2 years by utilizing these services within the cloud. Any others that you're seeing?
We're getting some other questions. Thank you, Ruben, so much for going through presentation with us. But just quickly to bring up from our polls, our first poll, where are you on the cloud migration journey? We see that we have about 40% of persons on this call saying that they're in the migration process right now. 8% saying they're about to start, and about 36% saying that they're still thinking about it. And then we have 16% who have already done a migration and in the post-migration maintenance phase. So we have a good cross-section of experience and persons at different phases on the call. And then when we look at our second poll about the long-term objectives, what we see are 64% of the persons, and this was a multi-choice, 64% of the persons have selected cost optimization and scalability, which we talked about. And then 43% are looking to improve agility and flexibility for the organization. And then we have 64% who are saying enhance their security and compliance ability. And then 36% are looking at leveraging just the cloud native services. So that gives us a good idea of where people are on the call. And Ruben, you would have spoken to most of these things. I see some more questions coming in right now. One saying, thank you, really very helpful. Are you able to get copies of the slides? Yes, you will receive an email with a link to the copy of the slides, as well as a link to this recording following this webinar. So we will share that with you coming out of this webinar. Seeing another question coming here saying, what are the greatest security misconceptions about cloud?
One thing before I go into the question at the end here, where scalability and costs, and that's why we have been stressing about budget, the IT agility for your organization. Cloud gives you that ability where the scalability, we know that things are growing exponentially. It's now globalization, people. Gone are the times of when you couldn't access certain services unless you were in the country. Now persons are able to access your resources from pretty much anywhere. And as such, as connectivity becomes greater, you are going to have a lot more traffic going to your applications, to your infrastructure, and you want that scalability. But also you want to maintain and manage on costs and the trade-off from there. So cloud definitely will be helping you with that, guys. What are the greatest security misconceptions about cloud? I'll speak about one, that everybody has access to your information. No, that is not the case. You can debunk that myth. That is not something that goes by. Not everybody has access unless you leave it open for them to access. And be reminded, not because you moved to the cloud means everything is automatically going to be nice, set up securities, optimize on everything. There are some things that you'll still have to ensure that if you don't have a professional in-house, that you're engaging other professionals to help you. For example, the hardening, reduction of certain services, certain ports, and access to your information. So no, not everybody has access to information, but if you're not careful, people can have access to information that is unwarranted. So that is one of the biggest misconceptions about cloud security. And another question came in here, is it recommended that you have a separate network? Cloud affords you to give that in the first place. That is something that it's somewhat built in, especially from a hybrid cloud setup where you have certain services now being separated from your main infrastructure. And what a lot of people look at this with is built in, and doing this recommended approach could be a recommended approach also, where you do a hybrid cloud at the beginning, because then you're separating certain services. Say you have a system that you have customers accessing. If you place that in a separate cloud environment, if there's any sort of compromise to that system, then that is separate and apart from your main infrastructure, which is on-premise. So that reduces your attack landscape and surface. So it would be recommended that you can also have a separate network. But again, remember, this is depending on what is the requirement for your organization. Maybe it is that you want that level of agility, that movement. You don't want to have anything on premise. Everybody's working remotely. Then don't buy an office space or the need to go and rent an expensive data center space. Move to the cloud for that. So how do you manage the cultural change and move into cloud as it relates to identity management? Users may be unwilling to register for MFA using SMS or app verification. One important thing for this is awareness training. And one thing that would also ideally say to you is start with some training, start with an exercise, and then results of that exercise presented to the person so they can understand the impact that it has. And also provide them the step-by-step to how they can be able to enable, how they can work with multi-factor authentication. So what I'm saying is, for example, simulate a phishing attack in-house where multi-factor may not be in place. Look at something that targets multi-factor not being enabled. Show them that within your organization, somebody can get to a particular space in your organization just because multi-factor is not enabled. The impact that has, access to the information, and what it will cost the organization for this. Have sensitization sessions as a result of that. And then have somebody or group, a team to be able to walk them through the process of enabling and supporting, because what happens is a lot of the times persons are like, I don't know how to do this and it seems difficult. And as I said, the older users, they are having a challenge because some of the technology is really new to them. It's not too difficult, but it becomes a bit challenging because they've never worked with it before. So just have the sensitization sessions, support in terms of the implementation, and then have a support team on hand for any questions they may have.
Great stuff, Ruben. We're coming close to the top of the hour, but I do want you to speak a little bit to how do organizations handle legacy systems or complex applications that are not easy to bring over to the cloud. So we know sometimes that's a concern in the migration process, dealing with those legacy systems that we've been using for years and those complex applications. How would you speak to that, or the strategies to do so?
So that's one of the earlier points, and I'll just switch back up to it. So as I speak about it, persons will be able to view where you want to look at the 6 R's. What are you going to be doing? If you're looking to move for the cloud, you'll ignore the first 2 and you look at the last 4, the rehost, replatform, refactor, or repurchase. You have these legacy applications. First, look at what they're doing. Look at your workload as mentioned. What is happening? What is it consuming? What is the process that it is doing? Again, you may have a CRM system that you have built in place. It may be cheaper to, instead of management, instead of administrative overhead for users who have to be continuously making patches for this, making updates, maintaining on our database, etc. That costs for on-premise upkeep, as well as if you move it to the cloud. You may look at it and say, okay, may I just buy an out-of-the-box application? It may fit my solution here. So you may want to look at it, asking yourself these 4 questions. Do I want to rehost it? Do I want to replatform it, refactor, or repurchase, which is moving to another solution, refactor, rewrite the application, replatform, move the application to the cloud and perform a few changes that will be able to optimize. And I know that there are challenges. And if it really cannot be moved, then still have a vision for your organization, because you don't want to be left dead in the water should anything happen to that application. So if you can't move right now, still create a vision and a strategy for moving forward, how you can replace further on.
And right before we go into the end, I just want you to touch on another big concern that we know people always have is, how do they approach and take care of minimizing downtime, whether that's during the migration or after the migration? How do they optimize their performance to ensure that there's not a lot of downtime?
Don't move everything at once. Use a phase approach with everybody knowing their responsibilities. You're having a KPIs and a timetable in place. So you know what you're moving. As you move one aspect of your infrastructure, then you're able to test, is it working fine? Is it meeting my KPIs still? Then you move another set of your infrastructure until, if it is that you're moving entirely, but take it in phased approaches. There's no need, unless it is that you recognize that something is going to be end of life, it's going to be shutting down soon, and you need to make a rush, then understandably, but phased approach as best as possible.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Ruben. And we want to thank everyone who is still on the call with us as we are at the top of the hour. Before you go, we want to present you with the offer that we have here today. We are offering special discount rates for some of our cybersecurity services. So we'd ask that you take advantage of these discounts. The discounts go up until June 16th. Conditions apply. We have here a 5% discount for our web application and penetration testing. And we're also offering a free vulnerability scan for web application. So what we ask is that you reach out to us at info@symptai.com or visit our website and go to the contact us page and use this promo code Symptai Cyber Offer, and the team will respond to that email and you'll be able to take advantage of these special offers that we're giving out right now for our cyber services, which includes some of the things that Ruben would have talked about in the cloud migration process. So Ruben, if you bring up the QR code, you'd be able to scan this QR code that you're seeing on screen right now, and it will take you directly to our contact page, and you can fill out that contact form right there and then, and just include this promo code Symptai Cyber Offer. As we said, the offers go up until June 16th. The team is eager to help and support you with any of your cyber or cloud migration needs. And if you'd like to email us directly, you can just email us as you see there on info@symptai.com. Or you can follow us on social media. We are on LinkedIn and Instagram at Symptai Consulting. We're on Facebook at Symptai Consulting, and we're on YouTube, which is where the recording of this webinar will be posted. So you'll be able to go back and see anything that Ruben would have talked about today that you want to understand a little bit more. You'll be able to check out the recording as well as the slide. And then right before you go, I'm just going to launch a final exit poll. This is just for us to get some feedback. We value your opinion, we value your input. We just want to know whether or not you found the information here helpful. And we just want to know if is there anything else that we can offer to you regarding cloud migration services or consulting services. Please share with us and indicate that you'd like for our team to reach out and share more with you there. And if you have any feedback about something you'd want to learn about, hear more about, you want us to talk about in our next webinar on cloud migration, you can share that with us as well. And if you're watching this recording and you're not able to answer the poll, feel free to reach out to us at info@symptai.com and just share whatever it is that you'd like to share as feedback or whatever it is you'd like to request. Ruben, again, I want to say thank you for delivering this presentation this morning. It was very insightful. I'm sure you've answered quite a bit of the questions that persons have around cloud migration and the security steps and elements needed to do that successfully. And as we stated earlier, Symptai Consulting were founded in 1998. We're 25 years old. We've been around the block a few times. We have some experience and some battle scars, but our team of experts are capable and willing to assist you with whatever it is that you need in the IT consulting space. And as we relate to our cloud migration topic, Ruben, as well as the rest of his cyber team, sit as experts in infrastructure and cloud technology. So the poll is still on screen. You can go through and answer. I'm just going to keep it up for a little bit longer for anyone who wants to reach out through the poll. And remember, QR code on screen, visit that contact us page, fill it out. And if you're interested in discounted cybersecurity services before June 16th, reach out with that promo code Symptai Cyber Offer, and our team will happily respond. Ruben, before we close, is there anything else you want to say just as a last message to the audience today?
Oh, yes. Thanks for all those who had the ability to join here today. And I want to wish everybody the best with their cloud initiatives, whether it is that we are able to assist you or walk with you through that journey. But we want to ensure and hope that you make the best choices as you move forward. So thanks again, everyone.